Welcome, everyone. We are Biopatrika, your own online science communication forum, bringing science closer to you in so many ways. In our Scikonnect by Biopatrika series, we talk to some of the current and future leaders from the world of science to gain some insights into their career journeys. Today, we have the pleasure of talking to Dr. Jitendra Pant, a dynamic individual who truly defines what it means to be a scientist in the 21st century. I'm Srinath and along with me, Ramya Chitturi will be hosts today as we take you through this fascinating journey that is the life of Dr. Jitendra Pant.
Dr. Jitendra is a biomedical engineer and he obtained his doctoral degree from University of Georgia. He was also a director and co-founder of Innovator, a biomedical startup. He has a research experience of 15 years. He worked as a scientist at Biocon and a postdoctoral fellow at University of Michigan, and also a principal investigator with N number of patents. Currently, he's an application scientist at CARON products in the cell and gene therapy space, a field with immense potential to impact the lives of billions. Jiten is also a science communicator, having given TEDx talks along with other presenters. Jiten has elegantly traversed both the academic and industrial world, making various impacts in almost domains of modern scientific career. It's a pleasure meeting you, Jiten, and having you with us.
Thank you, Ramya. Thank you, Sri.
To keeping things off, let me start. Can you tell us about your background, educational background, and how you made into the biomedical field?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was in 2004. I had just passed my 10th grade and I happened to be the topper of my school. And I was confused between choosing biology and mathematics, like most of us, because that kinds of determines, where your life will go from there. And in that confusion, I have almost made my mind to pick up mathematics over biology until my biology teacher, she gifted me a biology book. And that was then and there I decided that I would want to make a career in biology. She showed a lot of faith and trust in my abilities, and I thought, let me pursue both. But I would be primarily focusing on biology. And that's when I chose this route after making failed attempts to become a doctor. I started BTech in biotechnology at ICFA University, Dehradun. Got to meet wonderful mentors and teachers who prepared me well. And it so happened that, so I joined the program in 2006, graduated in 2010. And in 2010, I became fortunate to get my first job at Biocon, where I worked for 3 more years. And in those 3 years, I became part of 4 monoclonal antibodies project. 2 of them got FDA approved. And after Biocon, I did my master's from BITS Pilani, Hyderabad campus. And at BITS, I came to know about this professor called Dr. Hitesh Handa, who was setting up his new lab at University of Georgia, and he was looking for students who can help him set up cell culture and microbiology space to set up a tissue engineering lab. So I had never done tissue engineering, but I had done cell culture, and I thought there is something that I can contribute. So I happened to become his first 2 PhD students. And it was under his leadership that I learned how to not only do research, but also mentor, how to nurture talents. And in doing so, I published several papers, filed certain patents. I wrote a lot of grants with him. And ultimately in 2018, when I was graduating, he asked me if I would like to be a co-founder with him in the company that he was founding. And that's how we started a biomedical company together that received funding from NIH and CDC. And yeah, I owe a lot to the mentors that I met from time to time, starting with Miss Madhu Sharma, who was my high school biology teacher.
Great. Thinking back, even I was there at a point where should I choose the science or mathematics?
Yes.
I wish everybody will go through if they're from any of the state board exams.
Yeah.
And do you have any tips which helped you in going through this journey? If possible, can you share with our listeners?
Yeah. I think regardless of whatever you choose to do in your life, regardless of the career path that you choose, if you're passionate about what you are doing, and even more important, if you're passionate about making sense out of your life, and by that I mean being not being only being helpful to yourself, but also to the society that you live in, you cannot go wrong. It does not matter what career path you choose, and especially in today's society, where the world has become so closely knitted. There is scope for anything and everything. So just believe in what you're doing, love what you do, and do what you love, and things will fall in place for you.
Fantastic.
Wonderful. Being a PhD student, I want to know personally, like, can you share a recipe kind of for early PhD students?
Recipe. Like I told, I stumbled upon biomedical engineering because. So here's something. If I'll tell you that I chose biomedical engineering because I always wanted to become a biomedical engineer, it would be a lie. The truth is that between 2011 and 2015, I applied to more than 200 universities via email and physical application. I was not accepted anywhere. I was so desperate that I would have taken any offer. I'm fortunate that I stumbled upon biomedical engineering, but I know that at that time, somebody from forest science would have approached me. I would have taken that path. I just so desperately wanted to do PhD that anything was good for me, and I did not know any better. There was nobody to mentor me, nobody to guide me. But I feel very fortunate that I did my PhD from where I did it, and the mentors that I made in the process. If I have to give you a recipe, I think the recipe is uh, make the best out of every situation. Uh, Life outside you is a poker game. There are situations outside your control, but life inside you is a chess where you have fixed set of uh, instruments and faculties given to you. If you make your choice wisely, you would do good in life. And the faculties and choices that you have within basically your body, your mind, and your hormones. The way I lead my life is I put them in the order of my mind, body, and then hormones. But unfortunately, most of the world is directed by their moods, which is dictated by the hormones. I guess if we can put them in right order, where we decide what happens to us, and we do not become a slave of our circumstances, regardless of whether you do a PhD or not do a PhD in the field you are in, you will do good because you are taking charge of your control and you are playing chess the way it should be.
I can totally relate to it.
Wise words.
Thank you.
So I wanted to go into a little bit about what it is that a biomedical engineer does. I think some of our listeners would like to know, this is a fascinating field to be. How do you think how does the work that you do impact our day-to-day lives? So could you give us a little bit of insights into what a biomedical engineer does?
Yeah, so it's a very broad and subjective field. And from my own experience, if I can answer it in simple words, it's an amalgamation of different fields. It includes fundamental biology, but it also intersects with chemistry as well as material engineering and engineering design consideration. So you have to be a good in a lot of things in order to do good in biomedical engineering. But ultimately, when all these fields meet together, the goal is to translate science into products. These could be biomedical devices, or these could be cell and gene therapies. So the way it impacts your day-to-day life is healthcare is heavily dependent on biomedical devices, but we have to be also smart and careful enough and have vision to be able to come up with devices that in the process of helping humans are not hurting. Like for example, try to develop products that have minimum side effects, and every product comes with side effects. But if you are careful in choosing the kind of recipe that you put in making a biomedical devices or cell and gene therapy, we can cut down a lot of side effects. And that's what we should be careful about as a biomedical scientist, and that's how we can benefit other fellow human beings the best way possible.
So like an example of a biomedical device, just as I'm just, going on a little bit of a tangent here, would a smartwatch, those watches, fitness tracker watches, would that be counted as a biomedical device? Or are we talking about, ventilator systems that are in the hospitals. So or everything between that could, as long as it interacts with a human being, is a biomedical device. So could you give a little bit more insights on that?
Yeah, again, it's very broad in nature, and you rightly pointed it out that both invasive as well as non-invasive technologies that can improve human health um, uh, covers the span of biomedical engineering and biomedical devices. The kind of biomedical devices that I worked on, they were all blood contacting biomedical devices, such as vascular catheters. We also worked on urinary catheters, vascular graft, extracorporeal circuits, and wound dressings. So this was my focus area. But to answer your question, yes, it should cover everything that interacts with human body and can either help in diagnosis or the treatment of a diseased situation, condition.
Fascinating. And again, on a small tangent, again, you mentioned that you have to do mathematics, engineering, biology, and this is the story of modern science, isn't it? You are no more just a molecular biologist. It's always about the problem. It's always about what solutions you can bring to the table rather than who you are.
Yes.
So I wanted to quickly, I wanted to go into a different tack as well. You've worn numerous hats in your scientific career. You can broadly split them into an academic world, the industry, or even in the entrepreneurial space. What are the similarities between these three worlds? As in, how did you transition from one to the other so seamlessly? You personally, what are the skills you could take from one to the other?
Yeah, it's a very good observation. I think I have been fortunate. Over the last 10 years, I jumped between fields, related, but still different fields, and got to do things on both science as well as on the business side of the things. Uh, as far as similarities are concerned, I would say passion, grit, innovation, creativity is at the center of doing research, whether it is in academia or it is in industry, or if you have your own business, you need to have passion and grit to be able to do it successfully. But talking about differences, one thing all the academic scientists would agree to is at academic level, we learn how to do things. And sometimes the more complex these methodologies are and the more complex these problems are, the better rewards you get in terms of publishing in high impact factor papers or getting patents. Whereas in industry, the goal is to take this understanding, simplify it, and be able to come up with a product, be able to commercialize it, and keeping the sense of urgency in mind and keeping the finances in mind. So academia is driven by how, and business is driven by how fast you can bring these technologies and how you can simplify these ideas and technologies and bring them to the market as fast as possible.
Very nicely put. Now, I just wanted to also follow on. So do you think individuals should have different mindsets? Like you decide from the beginning itself, I want to go into the academic space, the industry space, or start a company. Do you need to have a set mindset from the beginning, or can you learn along the way? So to a young listener right now, how would you suggest that they pace themselves? How would they set their mind into which sort of path they want to take?
Yeah, my answer is yes and no. Yes, because if we look at the mindset, keeping grit and passion at the core of it, yes, it requires similar kind of mindset. But I would also say that it would be naive to assume that all scientists can be good business men or women, or all businesses can do good science. Uh, uh, so yeah, based on how you see and where you are at in your career stages, keep the passion and grit, but also be open to learn skill sets that a successful business needs to, and a successful scientist needs to. And if you are getting obstacle by resources or the times, I think it's best to collaborate with people who have complementary skill sets, so that uh, these two things, business and science, can be merged together, because that's where the most amazing thing happens where science and business meets each other. And COVID-19 vaccination is a very good example of that.
Yeah, that was a fantastic, the scientific community came together, the business, pharmaceutical industry came together. It was crazy that everything happened in a year.
Yeah.
And most people predicted 5 years, right? So it
Yes.
was a beautiful sort of a chemistry between all these different worlds.
Very true.
I will also, again, I'm going to ask a really difficult question now.
Okay.
So is there in a career in science, do you have to follow a set path, or is there a great role for serendipity, chance? And what does it mean to have, how do you have a successful career in science? What are the benchmarks you have to fulfill? Basically, I'm asking you, how do you become a successful scientist? Ridiculously difficult question, but I think you would be able to give us valuable insights into this sort of a issue.
Yeah, it's a great question. And this is how I personally see life. Like I told you, life outside you is a poker game, but life inside you is a chess game. Uh, life outside you is driven by good luck, bad luck, or things outside your control. But uh, basically, if you look at yourself, you're just your body, mind, and hormones. And if you put them in the right priority of mind first, body second, and then hormones third, there is nothing that can stop you. No outside obstacle can stop you. So the pathway to becoming a great scientist or a great anyone is inside out. So as far as we focus on fixing ourselves, there's nothing that should affect us from the outside, and things will continue to come across our way. There will be struggles, there will be hardship, which is not in our control, but we should definitely take care of things that are in our control, and that is our body, mind, and hormones.
Beautifully said.
As you transition from academics to industry to being an entrepreneur, did you feel any setbacks in this transition? Like, if so, how did you get up from that and made it to the point where now you're successful?
Yeah, and I'll tell. So I can be successful today and then become a failure tomorrow, and this will keep happening. I think the best lesson that I've learned from my life is nothing has a meaning except for the meaning that you give it. And we should always focus on the things that are in our control, and not not to not to get caught up by the things that are not in our control. In the last 3 years, I have lost 4 family members, including my father, and there have been a lot of shift in my career. There were things that I did not want, both professionally and personally, but they happened. But I think at any stage of your life, you have to understand that if you want to keep going on, you cannot let the situation outside you get hold of you. You should keep pushing. You should, because when you do well in your life, it is not just you and your family that gets benefited. It's society that can learn from your failures. And the way I see any failure, and I feel fortunate that I can see it on the spot at the moment when I'm getting failed, that one day I will take this as an example to motivate someone who will be going through a similar situation. And that's how I have always seen my failures. And I believe, again, you can make any meaning out of your failures or success. And this is what I decided to do, because I understand that life is a choice and happiness is a decision.
Sorry for the loss, but as you rightly pointed it out, life has to move on whatsoever.
Mhm.
And do you have any favorite mentors or significant persons in your life that inspired you to take up this journey?
Uh, yeah, quite a lot of them. But if I have to point out few of them, it started with my father. My father was a forest guard, and despite not having much education and finances in hand, he was uh, he would constantly read books. He would constantly learn, and there were researchers So my father did not continue his education beyond 10th grade, but there were researchers from all over the India doing their PhD who would come to our houses, who would come to our house to learn from him about plant science and Ayurvedic medicines. And that was awe-inspiring. I saw him not only teaching them, but also generously offered them a place to stay overnight. And from him, I learned that you should never stop learning, and you should help fellow human beings and help them elevate their life. And money is only a barrier if you let it be. So this is what I learned from my father. Uh, but beyond that, my sisters, who were 7 and 8 years elder to me, they were following a career path. They were in the process of getting into PhD program, and that motivated me to become a scientist. My school teacher, Miss Madhu Sharma, was one such example who pushed me towards pursuing biology. And growing up, I think it was my PhD mentor. I feel extremely fortunate because I hear horrible stories of how people are traumatized during their PhD and postdoc, and I feel fortunate that I was with a mentor who was supportive, who uh, who let me be who I was, who gave wings to my dreams and my ambitions and aspirations, who let me be creative without judgment. And I feel fortunate that I had all these mentors. But besides mentors, I had support system from many people who are not my direct mentors, but helped me from time to time and gave me both personal and professional advice. And one such support system for me is a friend whom I know since 2007. And we got married last year. Her name is Manali Dimri. She also is a scientist working with Covens. And I believe these mentors and support systems are the reason that I am where I am and I could achieve whatever I could achieve.
Beautifully said. And congratulations on your marriage as well.
Exactly.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
And also, I personally follow your YouTube channel for past 1.5 years, and I have listened to your TEDx talks. I mean, how it started, like why you started being a science communicator, and how do you think about saying your own story to the like to the world will make an impact, or like why did you start it?
Uh, I think it started off with a debate competition that I participated accidentally when I was a kid, and it was a learning experience for me. I was not doing very well, but ultimately, when the results were out, I became the winner of the competition, and I think that was my first exposure into public speaking. Uh, but growing up, my mom would constantly tell me. So I was an introvert initially. I would not speak up, but in the process of overcoming it, I tend to overspeak. I would speak more than I should. And my mom would constantly tell me to not speak too much. And I realized that it's a strength and can also be a weakness. And I decided that I should convert this weakness into a strength. So in doing so, I came across Toastmasters. I heard a speech, and I thought, I want to do this on stage one day. I want to be a speaker, especially coming from a background where English is not your native language. You don't have educated parents, and you grew up with hesitation speaking in English. I think that combined with the right platform, which happened to be Toastmasters for me, I learned about storytelling and public speaking. And that led to a lot of opportunities, including the 3-minute thesis competition, as well as TED Talk that I became fortunate to be a part of. There is a long story. Maybe we'll keep it for some other day, but I it's a journey of failure and success there as well. Like every good thing that happens in your life, success does not happen overnight, and you constantly push towards something. But one advice that I can give people who want to be good public speaker is understand that any storytelling or any public speaking is by the people. It's about the people or the things and animals that people associate with, and it is for the people. So at the core of your public speaking or speeches should be people. And if you want to become a good speaker and a good writer, you should be a good listener and a good reader, and that's how you can touch people. You can connect with them emotionally, and that's how you can influence their life, uh, by being open to be influenced by them first.
That's a really nice insight also, because ultimately you're not speaking to a wall, right? If what
Mhm.
you're saying is not understood by the person, then who's at fault here? It's obviously the speaker. So you have to keep constantly making sure that what you say is as clear, as succinct as possible. Yeah, you hit it right on, nail right on the head there.
Absolutely,
And
yeah. Thank you.
nowadays, science communication is like a essential soft skill. Apart from scientific knowledge, it comes hand in hand wherever we go.
Mhm.
And which of the soft skills do you think are like required, and how can we cultivate and nurture them in the beginning of our scientific career?
Uh, Again, this is spot on. You uh, said it very rightly that soft skills are at the center of a lot of jobs that we do, and I cannot emphasize this enough. And I encourage all the young researchers and students who are looking for a job to become to improve their communication skills, be it oral communication or written communication skills. And again, to become a good oral speaker, you have to be a good listener. To become a good to become good in writing, you should be good in reading. And unfortunately, reading is not taught in any school. Unfortunately, listening is not taught in any school. And I wish we reach a stage where, from a very early stage, we learn about listening and reading in schools, and that's the way forward. But within our own limited resources, until schools and colleges come in pace with the things that I'm suggesting here, I think this is our own responsibility. If we understand and value communication, we should listen a lot and we should read a lot, and that's the way moving forward.
Thank you. Definitely, I'm going to take this into consideration.
Yep. And I mean, listening, the interesting thing about also listening is, I mean, I'm also quite, what do you call it? You can accuse me of this quite a bit, where it goes in the ear, but I do not understand what someone is actually trying to tell me. And until you get to the crux of what the message is, you're not really listening. So yeah, very well put there. I think I have one final question, and this is a little bit on see how you are an oracle of the future. So in your opinion, what bit of technology or product would revolutionize your field, that is the biomedical space, in the next 10 years? Where do you see it going?
Uh, I think as far as healthcare is concerned, two problems come to my mind, and solving these two problems, with my limited knowledge, I'm saying that solving these two problems should be the way forward. One thing is antibiotic resistance. It is it has been reported that antibiotic resistance will kill 10 million people every year by 2050, leading to a global loss of $70 trillion, $100 trillion, which is higher than the current GDP of the world. And this is anticipated to happen in 2050, by 2050, if we do not take serious measures against it. So one thing is definitely, uh, cutting down the use of antibiotics and coming up with alternatives to overcome antibiotic resistance. Uh, I'd been fortunate to work on nitric oxide technology, where we were developing alternatives for antibiotic resistance, developing antimicrobial technology and biomedical devices. Another thing that I think is autoimmune disorders and cancer. Cell and gene therapy, I believe, is the way forward. Earlier, it was monoclonal antibodies, and cell and gene therapy is next. We already got 22 FDA approved cell and gene therapies, and there are more coming. The future looks very bright. And in my current role as an application scientist at CARON Products and Big Meat, I feel fortunate that we support cell and gene therapy by developing by equipments that allows researchers to have sophisticated cell culture and gene therapy techniques done in more efficient manner. Uh, and yeah, I'm very excited, and and I believe that cell and gene therapy is the way forward, and will give answers to a lot of problems that we are facing in healthcare as far as cancer and autoimmune disorders are concerned.
And you're right in the middle of that space. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what you will produce in the next 10 years.
Absolutely, you would be happy to know actually, and I think I'm right in assuming that both of you are from India.
Yeah.
Please correct.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm also taking charge of the India business for CARON products, and we'll be launching a series of products in cell and gene therapy space in India, and I'm very excited that I got fortunate to serve as a global liaison and bring the technologies that we are developing in US and UK to India, my home country, and I'm very, very excited about it.
Don't tell me. This is a new hat, isn't it? That you're going to go into.
Yeah, it is a new hat with a lot of challenges, and it motivates me like every other challenge, and I'm very excited. And the way I'm looking at it is, I'll be able to serve my home country with the technologies and patents that we have here, and I cannot wait to see what future has for us.
Fantastic. You're an inspiration. The way that you're able to seamlessly transition, I'm learning a lot just by talking to you.
Exactly, even me.
Thank you so much for your kind words. But I believe that we are all in different stages of our life,
Yeah.
and and there are things that help us achieve different things, and it's a combination of your hard work and the opportunities that you come across. And yeah, I believe that there are a lot of young and brilliant minds out there. I'm just born before them, and it does not make me any better. But I believe that as far as my own personal motivation is concerned, I am geared up to help as many fellow scientists and young students as I can. And I try to do it through my YouTube channel and LinkedIn and Facebook, and Scikonnect happened to be one such platform which I believe would help scientists connect from different spheres of life. And this is a platform that many, I would say millions of researchers and young students would benefit from. So thank you so much for making me a part of this.
Oh, thank you so much for being a part of it. Thank you for the kind words for Scikonnect and Biopatrika as well.
You're so humble, and we are glad to interact with you.
Thank you so much.
So, to our listeners, Dr. Jitendra Pant has worn multiple hats and excelled in diverse range of fields, as you heard from him till now. We are also looking forward to seeing him to scale new heights and eagerly follow his life and work.
Perfect. We will have Jiten's LinkedIn profile and URL with this podcast for our listeners. And we would also be glad for all our listeners to share your feedback at biopatrika.in@gmail.com.
Wonderful. And another thing that they can do is, as you mentioned, I also make YouTube videos for young students and professionals. If they have any question that is relevant to a particular video, they can leave a comment. I try to answer within 48 hours, and I'll do my best to answer any queries that they have with all the details possible.
Now we take your leave and hope you'll tune in again for our next interview.
Yeah, thank you, Ramya. Thank you, Shri. It was wonderful talking to you, and I'm grateful.